Welcome to HR Talk with HRLocker. In today's episode, we're joined by Aine Crilly, Managing Director of the HR Elephant. The HR Elephant is a human resource consultancy based in Newry, and Aine has a wealth of experience in managing many complex HR issues, employment legislation, and HR best practice. She has worked as an independent consultant with a variety of clients on extensive HR products, including small to medium-sized businesses, multinational professional services groups, and gained international HR experience in Canada within the last 8 years. Aine is also a part-time CIPD lecturer and qualified assessor who delivers the accredited Level 5 HR qualification. Hi there, Aine. Thanks for joining us on today's podcast.
Hi, Ronan. How's it going?
Aine, thanks for joining us today. I just wanted to kick off straight away, really. But before we do, because we have an exciting topic to explore, I would just like to ask if you could tell us a little bit about yourself. We have some listeners maybe that will be familiar with you and others that aren't. So if you could just give us a quick overview of yourself and what you do at the HR Elephant.
No bother at all. So my name is Aine Crilly and I'm the Managing Director of the HR Elephant. We are a Human Resource Consultancy established back in 2016 and we're based, our head office is in Newry, but we work with clients all over Ireland just because of our location, and we also work in the United Kingdom as well. So I'm a member of the CIPD, which is our institution for personnel and development, and a part-time lecturer in HR. So do a wee bit of everything.
Wow, you're definitely busy. So today's topic, we're discussing a few things, but one of the main ones was around furlough. Now, you probably guessed from my accent, I'm from the Republic, so we don't really have this term a whole lot. So would you mind just explaining to us a little bit about furlough? What exactly is it?
Okay, so again, the furlough was only really introduced a few months ago, and we're all really trying to get our head around what it even means. It's very much an American term, and essentially it means, in the most basic form, it's a temporary leave of absence. So it's a term that has never been used in the UK or the domestic regions within the UK until now, and essentially it's been introduced by the government really to provide employers with an option to keep the employees on the payroll without them actually working.
I see. Okay.
So, the furloughed staff are kept on the payroll, and it's just slightly different to a typical layoff because they're not actually being made redundant and they're not on a layoff without any pay. They're actually still getting paid to be at home as such,
Yes, I see. So we have the situation where so an employer would furlough somebody. We'll say after that time has passed, then is an employer able to unfurlough someone, and how would they go about doing that correctly?
Okay, so essentially, again, the whole unfurloughing process has really seemed to be complicated. But again, in terms of simple steps, Ronan, you can re-furlough people and you can bring them off furlough and back and forth as much as possible, as long as it's for a minimum period of 3 weeks. And again, there's a consent piece to this. The employee most certainly needs to agree to be placed on furlough leave, because essentially you are changing the terms and conditions of their employment, and as per the contract of employment, that would never be including a clause on furlough leave, because essentially it didn't exist. So it's just really about getting their consent. And again, the government has been quite clear in this, that consent must be in writing. So it's about getting the consent in writing and having that on record, like anything with the government, but with the HMRC, in case anything came down the line that you would need to produce that document. When you're unfurloughing them, they can be unfurloughed and they must return to the same job. The key point about this, and it's not an easy way out or anything for an employer. If the employer wants to change the job title, they must get the employee's consent, and that would mean essentially a change to their contract of employment. So essentially, I couldn't just, as the employer, come tomorrow and change somebody's job up. I would need to sit down, have a period of conversation, of consultation, and speak to that employee to then, agree more favourable terms. I think essentially after this furlough period, it's going to be very difficult for business to know what's happening. Here within our own region of Northern Ireland, based on the UK legislation, we don't have any clear dates. Northern Ireland is different to yourselves, and in Ireland, you have a clear timeline of dates. We have a 5-step plan, but we don't certainly have any end date. We are hoping that stage 5 will be by December. So it puts employers in an awkward position at the moment. Again, yes, this period of furlough, but what happens then after furlough? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after furlough, when the employer is unfurloughing or re-furloughing someone, is that person going to be coming back to the same job?
Yes, yeah, for sure. They need to return to the same job. Again, you can rotate furlough as well. So I think, it's some employers at the start had thought that, if they're in furlough and they come off furlough, you can't place them back on furlough. Mm-hmm. But it's very much a minimum of 3 weeks. But again, you could rotate that. So if you had 40 employees and you were working on a rotational basis, you could have 20 employees on and 20 employees off, and rotating that you can keep your health and safety measures in place, such as your distancing or whatever may need be in those areas of key workers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there should be a big piece around health and safety, really, when we're preparing to unfurlough people back into their jobs. If employees are unfurloughed, will the business be responsible for ensuring employees get tested in future for COVID and things like that?
So again, as the employer, you do have a duty of care to protect those employees, and again, that's a legal duty of care in statute. So really what you're looking at there is the testing is available for key workers within the essential services. So any employers that we've been working with, we have been putting a memo or an email or a notice out to the key workers to say, obviously you're a key worker, and this is the testing provisions if you feel you need to be tested, and this is the steps you need to be taken. So, signpost them to the website that they can go on and then book in the test. I think when you look at reasonableness and as a caring and reasonable employer, the responsibility is there certainly to signpost. The testing is done through drive-in centres and there is home kits available, but the employer certainly would be asking the employee to complete a questionnaire before returning to work, regarding any symptoms, and perhaps from that, you would be moving on to testing. If an employee is showing symptoms, they should most definitely self-isolate, and it's just about employers there being mindful with all this data that they're now collating on behalf of the employee, with GDPR and data protection, that they're complying with those regulations.
Mm-hmm. And just in terms of documentation being required then upon the return to workplace, are there any key documentation pieces that are required?
So I think firstly, Ronan, a written record of unfurlough should be kept by the employer, an unfurlough letter for each worker. So, you're having a letter there placing them on furlough, and then you're having a letter to follow that paper trail that they've been unfurloughed. So you're really clear and you have complete clarity on all your dates. That confirms their period from end to end of furlough leave, and, that they have returned to normal duties. Again, where employers unfurlough workers on a staged basis, the employers will need to create a plan of who to unfurlough, and then the rationale and the reasoning behind, why those employees have been selected. Mm-hmm.
Is furlough probably one of the most common things you're coming across at the moment at the HR Elephant, or are you experiencing a range of different issues with the recent COVID pandemic?
Yeah, so there's lots of different issues at the moment. Certainly furlough, overwhelm would be the first. So a HR professional at this moment in time can work anything from ear to cry to list of social work, and I think there's so many different aspects to the working from home. So like yourselves, you will know with HRLocker, having the policy procedures in place to enable the employees to work from home. So having, your remote working policies and procedures in place, having your welfare policy in place. Mental health is a massive aspect of what we're looking at now in terms of coming forward with employers and queries about, how do you manage mental health in the workplace when you actually have a physical workplace is one aspect of it. But when you move that to remotely, it's very difficult to manage, and it's hard. So there's a number of employers now looking at the likes of the mental health first aid training. So to appoint either managers or employees to go and do the training, and then like a normal first aider, they're able to spot and assist with any signs or symptoms, or just being there for someone to actually chat to if anybody has issues. Again, stereotypically in our society, we don't talk about things like that, and it's about encouraging the employers and employees to be as open as possible. How you would do that at the moment, and what we're really trying to work with our clients and employers is keeping open lines of communication. So regardless if you have had no updates and you're pulling your hair out as the employer, pick up the phone if you have a small number of employees, or if you have line managers to ring their team. Check in with your employees if they're working remotely or they're not working. If they're key workers, check in with them to see how they are. Because I think that's so important. And what is HR? It's all about employee relations. And employee relations just basically comes down to the fundamentals of communication, and how that is either successfully or unsuccessfully done really, looks at what course of action we take when either HR becomes involved or when we're trying to sort out a situation or a problem. Communication, certainly mental health, furloughing, unfurloughing. Then we're actually planning at the moment, and obviously with workforce planning, we're looking at redundancies. And if we do have a timeline, furlough obviously has been extended now, but it's going to be changed in July, August, as maybe the part-time provision that will be implemented with it. So the government's looking at that, and that possibly will mean the employer has to provide 20%, and the government will provide 60%. Some businesses won't actually be able to do that financially. If they've nothing coming in, they will not be able to pay the employer. So starting to plan the provisions for redundancy, and then looking at the workforce planning to see will their business actually survive, or is that the end of the road, unfortunately, for that business.
That's extremely insightful and educational. Some very good points there, and you definitely cleared up furlough for me anyway. Aine, if people want to get in contact with you, how would they go about that?
Okay, so we're on most of the social media platforms, the HR Elephant, the likes of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's on HR Elephant, and we have our website, www.thehrelephant.com, or Aine@thehrelephant.com. I'm happy to help.
Excellent, perfect, absolutely brilliant. Aine Crilly, thanks so much for joining us.
No bother at all.
Thank you for listening to another episode of HR Talk with HRLocker, the podcast that brings you all things HR, adult development, remote working, and deliberately developmental organizational culture. We're available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your favorite podcasts. Subscribe now and tune in for the next episode.